Welcome to TC Daily, the technology show brought to you by TechCentral. If you haven't subscribed to the show yet, please do so. You can do that at youtube.com/TechCentral. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our daily newsletter at techcentral.co.za/newsletter, and you'll get all the latest local and international news delivered to your inbox at 5 a.m. every morning. Now, I'm very pleased to welcome today's guest into the studio. We're going to be talking all things broadcasting and streaming, and the future of television, really. And our guest today is Nyiko Shiburi, who is Chief Executive of MultiChoice South Africa. Nyiko, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Duncan. Good to see you again. It's been a while. I think we started interacting many years ago when I was still responsible for technology and MultiChoice.
Yes.
Broadcast technology.
We were just talking about when we first met, which launch it was. It was you were saying it was the launch of the.
It was the launch when I met you the first time. I think it was Explorer 2 launch.
Explorer 2 launch. Okay,
yeah, I can't remember how many years ago, but
quite a few.
quite some few years ago. Yeah.
But you've been with MultiChoice Group now for about 16 years.
Yes.
You started on the mobile broadcasting project DVB-H, which is that standard even around anymore?
I actually don't know if it's still around, but what I do remember, we were the second country to actually launch after Italy back then. I mean, we started trialing at the time. It was called DStv Mobile TV. It was back in 2006, and that's actually when I came across MultiChoice at the time, which was starting out as a contractor for mobile TV, building out networks. Yeah, and I did that for about 4 years before I joined the group permanently.
It was an interesting time, actually. I remember those devices. There was a Nokia, I think you said.
There was a Nokia, and then we had a Sagem phone, and then you're taking me back now. And then later on, we did those iDrifters and walkers and so forth. Yeah, it was a very interesting time. I think at the time in the world, we're still not clear how exactly this technology will evolve and how mobile TV, will get consumption. If you think about it now, we all forget how hard how difficult things were in the past, around how do you broadcast, there was nothing like zero rating of data and so forth back then.
Data was very
very expensive, and this DVB-H technology was meant to answer that question, but it was very difficult technically to do both, because you still needed to broadcast through using your normal television frequencies, UHF and so forth, hence you needed those aerials. On the devices, But it was a nice evolution over time.
There were a few handset manufacturers at the time who came up with DVB-H, but it never really took off on a
it never really took off. I think even just the form factor made it a bit difficult, and even for customers overall, right? That you have this device, you have to have an aerial that you pull out and so forth. Yeah, I think that's what made it a little bit quite difficult.
And then the internet, mobile internet, of course.
Yeah, and then mobile internet, of course, to get. Then there was a huge improvement around the compression technology, which then made it easier to send data through internet rather. Yeah, and I think that's what changed over time.
So tell me a bit about your career. You had some career before joining MultiChoice.
Yeah.
Are you an engineer by training?
Yes, I am. Okay. I actually studied electrical engineering.
Okay.
Electronics, on the electronic side, not this high power stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I was too scared. So
I didn't want
to get electrocuted. So for me, after 5 volts, that's the space I played.
Very
not 220. Wise. Yeah, not that side. Yeah, so that's what I did. I did digital tech many years ago, and actually my first job was fibre splicing. So I used to do fibre splicing many years back before it became fashionable.
Right.
We used to do fiber underground and so forth, and then over years, then I moved from that to project management, and that's actually when I joined MultiChoice, was a project manager for DVB-H network rollout.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing with MultiChoice as a contractor at the time.
Right.
Then I joined 2010. Yeah. I joined MultiChoice full-time 2010.
Right.
Yeah.
World Cup year.
I remember it was just after the World Cup year. Yeah. So I joined as a senior manager broadcast engineering, and one of the big projects that I was responsible for then was the GoTV network rollout in the continent.
Okay.
Yeah, and
that's your digital terrestrial television
network. Network rollout. Yeah, and that was a really fascinating project. Multiple countries, just learning how to do stuff at scale. That was a major project. Then from there I moved to decoders. So I looked after consumer devices, and I think that's when I met you the first time, when we did the Explorer 2. Yeah, the Explorer 2, that was my big thing. Then I ran the broadcast technology division for quite some time. And then about 2018, I moved to Southern region in the MultiChoice Africa business. So I looked after 9 countries for MultiChoice Africa. So I did that for about 3 years, and then I got this job.
Right.
Yeah, in the middle of COVID.
In the middle of COVID, okay. So how long, about 2 years now?
Yeah, I started 2 years. Actually, December now will be, 1st of December will be 2 years. Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah. Okay. So first year coming back, no one at the office. Yeah. Let's just say it was an interesting time.
Great. Well, I'm glad you have this extensive background in technology, because I'm also excited about broadcast technology, and I'm quite keen to learn what MultiChoice has in store. And you, of course, recently had a showcase event here in Johannesburg where you took the wraps off some pretty exciting stuff that's coming down the line. So I want to talk about that in some detail today. And let's start with a discussion on 4K, because I think a lot of consumers are quite excited about the fact that 4K is coming to DStv for the first time next month.
Yes.
In time for the World Cup. It's going to be launched for the World Cup specifically.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 4K has been around for quite some time, right? Even in South Africa, but on the OTT side of things. But it's one thing when you have to broadcast 4K. It's completely different when you're watching 4K that's already stored.
Yes.
It's two different things. And that's really how you can summarize it very easily. And for us to get the broadcasting side has been quite a lot of work to get it right? Because you have to get it from source, put it through the satellite, make sure that your studios are upgraded. It's quite a lot of work, And for us, we're actually going through some testing now, make sure that we give our customers the best quality service that they can get. And it's sometimes also some of the minor things around what do you do when you go to an ad break, because you can't switch from a 4K to an HD ad, what do you do with the studios and all of that. So it's a really fascinating time for us, but we're really excited about it.
So what do you do with content that you've got? For example, an ad that's in 1080p.
Yeah.
Do you upscale it to 4K?
Yeah, we prefer to get it native 4K if we can. If we can't, then we'll upscale it.
Upscale it.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So when is the World Cup kickoff? It's 20th of November, is it?
20th of November to 18th December.
20th of November to the 18th of December. So you've got just over a month to launch. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Okay.
We soon will be launching some test channels so that we can advise our customers to look into whether they're compatible or not, they're able to see the channels. But I think we're ready. The guys have been working really, really hard to make sure that we get that right, right across the whole entire value broadcast chain.
Okay. Yeah. So you're launching on SuperSport first.
Yes.
2 channels, I believe?
2 channels on SuperSport.
Which channels? There'll be football channels, yeah?
Football channels. It'll be just purely for the World Cup.
So I presume the grandstand channels, what used to be called SuperSport 1, will be one of
the 4. No. So I think we're doing 217 and 219.
Oh, so it won't be the grandstand channel?
Yeah, it will be the grandstand. Because we've got a far larger base of customers that still have HD, so 4K is only on the Explorer Ultra.
So you need to launch new channels.
We have to launch new channels.
You can't use the same channels.
No, I can't use the same channel.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So are you going to have to run those simulcast channels, if you like, for an extensive period of time going into the future?
Yeah. So obviously after the World Cup, because we won't have the feed, we're now into the planning of what do we do now that we've built this capability. Producing content in 4K and running it across, it's quite an expensive exercise.
Yeah.
So in this case, we're getting the feed directly in 4K. So that makes it a little bit easier to get it right. But thereafter, then we'll be able to announce what we're going to do going forward.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But I presume you'll look to do more sports
absolutely.
in 4K.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe general entertainment as
absolutely. We're looking into maybe we're doing some 4K on the VOD side of things, So maybe if you think of box office or catch up, there's a piece of content we get on 4K, we'll be able to put it out there. So there's quite a number of exciting stuff that we're looking into it.
Okay. So a lot of upgrade that's had to happen in studios. The feed you're getting is in 4K, so that makes it a bit easier. It's not your own 4K feed, it's being supplied to you in 4K.
Yes.
Is that feed available in 8K as a matter of interest?
No, not that I'm aware of. No, not that I'm aware of. I think
maybe
it's called in 4K. Maybe for the next World Cup. To be honest with you, Duncan, I'm not sure, but I know we're getting it in 4K.
Right.
I don't know if it's in 8K or not. Right. I doubt though, but there could be some 8K feeds where some other broadcasters are trialing out, because I remember 8K was already in discussion many, many years ago. I still remember at IBC in Amsterdam 4 or 5 years back. Yeah. There was a discussion around 8K.
But so few people have 8K TVs.
Very few people have 8K TVs. Yeah.
So just maybe get a little bit technical about the launch of 4K. You've only all of your broadcasts up till now have been in up to 1080i. quality, right? Now that refers to the you're going to be able to explain this better than I can, but it's
I think no, that one is is even more technical for me. I think the tech teams will explain it a little bit better than
I. But it's interlaced,
it's interlaced and scan and progressive scan. Yeah, I think honestly that one the tech guys will be able to explain that far better. It's
got to do with what quality of the motion you get.
Yes, and how you scanning before you produce the
double line or something.
Double lines, or you scanning every second line.
Yeah.
It's been, I have to be honest, it's been quite some time since I've been in that space.
Sure.
Yeah. That's about 4 years now, 5 years.
No, sure. But there's obviously, given that satellite bandwidth is very, very expensive, you make use of advanced compression methodologies to get those channels broadcast into people's homes.
Yes.
Now you've been using H.264, I think it is, compression on your existing broadcasts.
Yep.
You're now moving to something new for your 4K broadcast. Maybe just take us through.
Yeah. So yes, absolutely. So we're going to HEVC now, which just allows us to compress the content a lot more better.
Is that the same as H.265?
That's H.265.
Same thing.
Okay. Yeah. High efficiency video coding, I think. That's the HEVC part. Yes. Yeah, because if we had to do this using MPEG-4, it'll kill us.
Kill the satellite.
It'll kill the satellite, yeah. So we're doing it in HEVC H.265,
right,
which just allows us to compress. So to give you an idea, the high level numbers, because we also use adaptive bit rate. So depending on the quality of picture, we compress and so forth.
Yeah.
So if we did this in MPEG-4, it will be about 40 megabits per second.
Wow.
Exactly, on satellite, and we're getting about 1820. So it's about half.
Wow.
With HEVC. So it's somewhere there. Yeah.
Without really losing any picture.
Without losing any picture quality and so forth. But the interesting thing that you normally find is that the better the compression, the more stuff you do. It's not the other way around, As soon as when you compress, you get to find more other reasons to do stuff. You actually end up doing more stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So we're using HEVC, and as you know, our Explorer Ultra comes with HEVC support. Yeah. Whereas the older generations decoders only go up to MPEG-4.
Right. Yeah. So you'd need one of these ultra decoders if you want to watch the World Cup in 4K. Are you expecting a big boom in DStv Explorer Ultra sales ahead of the World Cup?
We're already getting a lot of inquiries, lots of movement. But talking about the Ultra itself, if you look at the device, we define it as a hybrid device because you're getting both satellite as well. You're getting your OTTs onto the box.
Yes. Also in 4K.
Yeah. Also, Also, they do some of the stuff in 4K. So that hybrid functionality allows you to bring the OTT world into the satellite world. So already there's been a lot of activity in the market around the fact that we've simplified things for the customer and put the OTT devices onto the Ultra as well. Yeah.
I wanted to ask how important it is for MultiChoice to be seen as a technological leader. A big chunk of your base probably doesn't have access to 4K TVs. I'd imagine that a broadcaster like Sky in the UK or Comcast in the US can expect their customer base to probably have access to much more advanced technologies than you would in the African context in which MultiChoice operates. How important is it for you to launch 4K and to be seen to be launching these latest technologies?
It's extremely important for us. I mean, for us, it actually goes back to our heritage, right? I said to you earlier that we were probably the second country in the world to launch DVB-H commercially.
Yeah,
remember correctly.
And you were one of the first digital satellite broadcasters in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely outside America. We know that. So for us, being innovative and being a technology forefront has always been in our DNA. It's always been part of our DNA, and it just allows you to move forward and improve the customer experience. For us, it's really about what else can we bring using technology to improve the customer experience. That's the key thing. And for us, being seen as a tech business or tech-led ahead business is quite important for us, that we continuously drive and see how can we improve things for the customer and be at the forefront of technology. Because if you're not, you can get easily disrupted, right? Yep. So if you think that this is the only way you do things and you're sitting back and hoping that nothing changes, if there's one thing we know has got the biggest disruption in any industry that you can think of, technology.
Yeah.
Every major disruptions you've seen recently in any industry is technology led. So it's quite important for us to always make sure that we stay in the forefront of that.
And I imagine also the people who are looking forward to 4K and these latest and most advanced services are your premium customers. Yes. These are the guys who are paying top dollar for the services. They're probably your probably generating your most margin as well, I'd imagine. So keeping them sweet and keeping them happy is important.
Yeah, but it's also, so from a customer perspective, absolutely, we have to do that. We keep the boundaries, but it's also for us internally to keep our teams motivated and also, attract talent, No one wants to work for a company. No one really wants to work in a place where there's no innovation. Yeah. You're not pushing the boundaries. You're not working on exciting stuff and so forth. So I think overall, if you look at right through all the stakeholders involved in our business, it's quite key for us to always keep that technology advancement, that you're not just sitting still like a lame duck waiting for something to come through and change things for you. Yeah.
So another announcement that you made at DStv Showcase, which is probably the one I'm most excited about, is the announcement about DStv Glass. Yes. Now, this is actually a product that was developed by Sky, and you've partnered with them. You've got a licensing arrangement with them, I believe. Yeah. But you're also doing your own R&D work around, and you're going to be bringing your own elements to the Glass platform. For those who haven't come across it yet, what is DStv Glass, first of all, and what's it going to bring to your consumers?
So it actually goes back quite some time, some time ago. In fact, when I was in the technology area, we scattered around the world to look for something similar, which was for us, was at the time we looked at how can we integrate the decoder into the TV, but give customers a great customer experience. And at the time, we really couldn't find anything out there that was quite exciting. Without getting too much into the technical detail, the stuff that we do on the decoders are quite difficult to do inside a TV set. There's a whole lot of things you have to do with the security. There's a whole lot of stuff that you have to do. If you think of the old smart card, and so at the time we were not ready, because we had to think about, okay, do we ship this TV? What do we do with the card slot, the smart card? So we were not ready. And then about a year or 2 years ago, we met with the Sky team, and we came across this Sky Glass. And as they said, and I think they said it very nicely, a television made for TV, which talks about user experience, customer experience. How do you make content discovery easy, and so forth? And hence we got into the syndication agreement with them, that we can build something around the Sky. And you can see, if you look at the technical features and how the Sky Glass has been built, we think we now have found something that we can really make it work for our market. And when you think about it, it's built as a internet first connection, satellite second, which signals also our big intention that we are really moving forward and adopting digital. So we're starting to think a little bit differently around digital and satellite and so forth, because we have to be in that migration.
So let me try and describe this thing, because I did get a chance to play with the showcase for a couple of minutes, and someone from Sky gave me a quick demo. It's a TV. It's a smart TV. There are 3 sizes. There's a baby one. It's like 32 inches or something. Then there's a 55 inch and a 65 inch.
And there's a groot meneer, the 65 inch.
I've got an 85 inch TV. I don't know what you want to call it.
I don't know what's the correct Afrikaans for it.
Anyway, very beautiful design. It's actually, I think it's borrowed a lot of design elements from Apple. It looks like an iMac. Very square, comes in different colors. It's got an integrated sound bar. And it sounds good. It looks good. The UI is probably the most interesting aspect of it, of course. You say it's streaming first. Does it actually have an integrated satellite decoder inside? Can you connect it to a satellite?
So we're busy right now finalizing the actual specification of what we're going to be. But it's designed that when you move into your home, and if you look at your lot, especially these new developments now, right? Everybody has access to fibre and internet and so forth. So the idea of it is you get home, put it on your fancy wall, switch on, connect it to your Wi-Fi, and then everything is sorted out. Okay. So right now we're busy finalizing on what other spec would have to go in there.
So you haven't decided yet whether it'll be satellite?
Whether it'll have a satellite tuner or not.
Wow. That shows radical change.
It's a big change.
MultiChoice,
It's a big change. It's a huge
Might
change.
not have a satellite receiver. Amazing. You're getting the streaming religion, are you?
We have to really adopt. I mean, if you look at what's happening now in the television space, in the past you always had that people's first entry to pay television was through satellite. now as time has progressed, and of course COVID accelerated it, a lot of first pay television entrants, people coming to pay television, is through OTT, right? So they go OTT first and then they come to satellite, right? And you might find people that don't do that they don't like. So you want to make sure that you're also playing in that game. And hence there's this big transformation on our side to make sure that we embrace and you know, digital or OTT transmission.
Fascinating.
And it's just much simpler. It simplifies a lot of things. You know, as I said, you get in home. I mean, we've simplified our sign-up journey now on our streaming. Hopefully you try it. You see it's very few clicks to sign up, and you get that instantly. You know, you don't have to wait for somebody to come to your house, put a thing, you know. If you've got internet, you sign up immediately.
And it works during a thunderstorm as well.
And it works through. That's a good. I didn't see that one coming.
So the user interface, and I must preface this and say I didn't get a lot of time to play with it, but and I'm guessing the interface I was looking at was really the Sky Glass interface rather than what DStv is going to be doing with that interface. But it was really interesting and made discovery of content very easy, and I guess that's the intention with this. So in the demonstration I got, you would search for a program or a movie, or it would recommend stuff to you. And it would show me content on there that's not necessarily from Sky, and I presume won't necessarily be from DStv. So I want to watch an action movie, and it might pop up stuff from Disney and Netflix, or something from Catch Up to watch, etc., etc. So it's an interesting approach because you really are embedding what are competitive streaming services into your own platform. You're giving them almost first-class citizenship within your own ecosystem, and some people would say, "Are you crazy?"
It does sound like right? No, but you know, Duncan, I think if you think back of how the MultiChoice business has been built, right? It's always been built around creating a platform where people can find the best content. So if you think of Mnet back in the days, it started out as a single channel where we were creating our own pieces of content. And then you create, and third-party content, you created a channel. Then you move to DStv, right, where it was third-party content and your own content to create the multiple channels. And now with all with most of the studios going directly to the customer, you know, you also then you're moving into the next generation, super aggregation, which is now you create a destination where people can find the content regardless of where it's coming from. So if you just think about that, it's a continuous evolution of what we've always been doing, that we're creating a destination where you can find the best content that you're looking for. That's actually what we really are about. You know, it's creating a destination where people can find the content. And that simplicity for the customer. What you just explained around content discovery is about simplicity for the customer. You know, one of the things that we did that most people take for granted is the fact that with your ultra remote you can control so many things. It's something that you don't think about, but customers really appreciate that about our ultra device. That I don't have to have three remote controls. No? With just that one remote, I'm able to switch. I can switch off my television, set off, change the HDMI input if I've got a PlayStation that I've connected, and so forth. If I want to watch content from different other providers, I can also do that. So for us, at the center piece is about creating a destination where the customer can find the best content that they're looking for.
So really admitting that the competition's out there, and it's not a us or them sort of proposition, and that if you can create a platform that's alluring enough to the consumer, then you could become the chosen platform that the consumer chooses, and therefore your own content gets exposure to them instead of them going off to some alternative platform where there's no DStv.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you've summarized it best there. So what we're also finding is that the customers that have got access to all of the content in one platform are far more stickier. You know, the customer experience is much better. And we get a lot of great feedback as a result of that. You know, for us, it's about simplicity for the customer.
So the UI on Glass looks incredible. Does it stay on these TVs only, or do you bring the interface to third-party devices at some point, or other MultiChoice developed boxes? Or
that's the long-term plan. I mean, we need to create the unified experience. It's great for the customer, but it's also great for my business because it makes support a lot easier. You know, so if you look at overall, the long-term plan is that you want to be able to take that user experience and make it consistent. You know? So you don't have to also train the customer over and over around, oh, okay, now I'm using this device, or this is how now this works.
Yeah.
Or when I switch to here, this is how that works, So for us, the simplicity of content discovery and usage for the customer is absolutely fundamental. If you think about it, Duncan, everybody keeps talking about migrating into creating platform businesses, right? You talk to the banks, talk to the telcos, that's the new buzzword is platform. How we think about it is that the people that will be able to execute that well and simplify it for the customers will be the guys that will win.
Yeah.
It's all about customer simplicity. Yeah.
And that UI will stay on your own hardware, or do you think at some point consumers could just download it off the internet and put it on?
We'll see it with time. We'll see with time.
So when is Glass launching? When will consumers be able to buy one of these TVs?
Yeah, I don't have exact timelines now, but I'd probably say 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
If I think about how long it takes for because there's quite a lot of work we have to do to put it. I mean, as great as it was, what you saw there, that is perfect for Sky there. Our consumers here have got different. We do some stuff unique and different that they don't do. For instance, if you look at the multiple language options,
yes,
it's something that people don't think about, but our PSL soccer lovers love that. The ability to switch between the different commentary, they love that. Which obviously Sky doesn't have to really worry about because everything is in English, right? So there's a lot of that we have to think about and integrate. And how do we take our existing experience and improve on that? Yeah.
Okay, so up to 18 months, possibly in time for Christmas 2020.
If you spoke to my tech teams, they'll tell you I'm pushing for much earlier time than that. But anyways.
and I know at the showcase event, I forget, it may have been Calvo or someone else at the event mentioned that there are going to be some aggressive payment plans for these TVs to make them more affordable to South African consumers. And I had a look on the Sky website, and I see they've got 48-month payment plans, which includes obviously the subscription you need and all the rest of it. You'll be coming to market with something similar,
we'll
like
be
a
doing
48-month plan or something.
Yeah,
like
we'll
that.
be doing something similar. We've actually been in that space for quite some time now. So a couple of years back, we launched our price lock offers. That included the decoder, but also or just a standalone where you just do a subscription price lock product. So we actually, you can almost say we've been preparing ourselves to this, right? Because it's one thing when you're a business, you're so used to selling a prepaid subscription only to now getting into the credit space, because it's really about credit vetting and getting your deliveries and logistics correctly and so forth. And I think in the last 3 or 4 years or so, we've managed to crack that.
You've had a big focus on local manufacturing for your decoders. You've partnered with local manufacturers. I think it's in East London you've have a plant.
Yeah, we did have a plant, but it's now we're working with the guys. We've got the guys in Durban for the Zappers, and then for the PVR, we've got the guys out in Germiston.
Oh,
but it's all local.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's microtronics. Yeah.
In effect. Yeah. Okay. So for the DStv Glass, are you?
That's the intent.
Local manufacturing.
Yeah, that's the intent. Yeah, that's really the intent.
Right.
We obviously have to go through the details. We have to understand the complexity of how the manufacturing process will work. But absolutely, that's our intent.
Okay.
Is to do local manufacturing. I mean, we pride ourselves in that, right? It also makes it easier when you have to kick somebody for extra orders. Please get the plant working overtime. I need more stuff. No, but I mean, we really pride ourselves with that. It provides employment opportunities locally, transfer of skills, and hence the decision. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a bit about streaming versus satellite. I don't know if we can call satellite a legacy product yet.
Not yet. It still has some legs.
But
analog is legacy, but satellite is.
But your streaming bouquets are now cheaper than your satellite bouquets, which suggests you're really pushing streaming hard.
Yeah.
This new TV, you don't know if you're going to put a satellite decoder into it yet, which is astonishing. So there's this move to streaming, and more of your customers are going to. The term overseas is cord cutting, but we're not cable TV here.
So
we're taking the satellite dish off the roof. How does this? I mean, what does this mean for your business, managing your business through this transition? Because you've got a satellite transponder up there that you have to pay for on I think it's Intelsat 20.
Yes.
That can't come cheap.
Yes.
Your customers over the next few years are going to start migrating away from satellite and onto streaming. You've still got the satellite lease requirements. What does this do for your costs, and how do you manage that over the coming years?
So I think right now in South Africa, as much as broadband penetration could accelerate, particularly with COVID, right, and everybody going home and companies subsidizing people being at home with internet and so forth, right? It's still not, unfortunately, it's not across everywhere. So you still have a very large base of customers that don't have broadband.
Yeah.
So how we think about it is that almost the two worlds will coexist for quite some time, and now us also transforming into doing a lot of satellite stuff allows us to learn a lot of different information, right? So if, for instance, in the OTT world, content discovery is key, and content recommendation, in fact, becomes really crucial, which is very difficult to do in satellite. You don't have a feedback loop, you know. So from managing the business perspective, it's like, how do you transition, even within the teams, right?
Yeah.
How do we transition that we have people that are focused on existing business, which we think it still has legs for quite some time, particularly with the broadband penetration not being as, you know, as high as it could be. And then secondly, in that new OTT world, what more can we do that we couldn't do in the satellite? And for us, for instance, content recommendation is key. You know, we get a lot of we often get a lot of complaints around repeats and so forth. But we actually have a lot of content that's there, but it's very difficult for us to surface the content.
Yes.
You know, to say, you know, Duncan, you liked this, therefore you might like that, because we actually don't know what you were watching, because we don't have a feedback loop. So that kind of stuff starts to change how we think about content discovery and content recommendation and so forth. Yeah. So we're seeing it at both. We think they'll coexist for quite some time.
Yeah. When you say quite some time, how many years are we?
Oh no, I don't know. I think it's a question for how quickly broadband penetration will happen. Yeah. I think it's a function of that.
Do you think streaming eventually kills satellite, kills kills terrestrial television? Maybe 10 or 20 years down the line?
It's a very good question, Duncan. I think if you look at other parts of the world where there is broadband everywhere and fairly cheap, you still have satellite there, right? Yeah, you think of your Sky and the dishes in the US, and they still have satellite there. So without getting too technical, and I know my techno guys will have a debate with me, but I'm still old school, that I'm still stuck on that internet was designed for unicast, you know, not multicast. And satellite was done for, you know, if you just wanna broadcast something at scale, satellite still remains the most efficient way of doing that. Yeah. So I'm still stuck there. I know there's a lot of discussions around what the impact of 5G will do and so forth. But I think overall, if you think about it, when it comes to large broadcasting for large audience, satellite still remains the most efficient way of doing it.
At the back end, what is cheaper, satellite or delivering over broadband?
It depends on the volume, you know. Right. So you mentioned earlier your satellite's more fixed cost, right? Whereas your streaming has got a bit of variability cost in there because of the CDN cost that you pay, and that's a function of how many people you have. Whereas on satellite doesn't matter, you know, whether I'm broadcasting to you alone or 100 people, the cost is the same.
But does it scale like cloud services scale? You know.
Yeah. And so it's a function of both how many people you're broadcasting to, and for how long, you know. So it's that. Whereas in satellite, it's a fixed cost.
Okay, but if everyone went to broadband and ditch satellite, would it be cheaper for you or more expensive?
It's hard to tell because it's a function of how long. Even you did if we did a like for like, it's very hard to tell.
Six of one, half a dozen.
It's very hard to tell. It'll also depend on what, you know, on the streaming side, what the people use it for and so forth. You know? So it's very, very difficult to tell.
So I wanted to talk about your role as an ISP. You've launched, a couple of years ago already, you launched fixed LTE packages with high caps, not uncapped, high caps, and marketed those with your bouquets. Now you've also just recently launched DStv fibre offerings, which are uncapped, very aggressively priced, which I want to ask you about. Is this a loss leader for you? The pricing looks very, very keen. What's the thinking behind being so aggressive with your bundling strategy here?
So let me I'll start with the first question about the FLTE that we did. What we recognized, and COVID really accelerated that for us, was that a lot of the customers were going online, as I said earlier. But one of the key things that we've always had in satellite world that OTT will not always have is the ability to control the customer user experience, right? Because in satellite, the whole value chain is within my control, right? So if I want to make some adjustment, I can do it, right across the value chain. Whereas in OTT, you're not in that space anymore. I mean, we've had some interesting challenges in the OTT space with some other, I can't name them, with other providers, where you see some bufferings happening more. That's because of how they do their capping and and so forth. So we wanted to be in that space so we can control things better for the customer.
Understood.
So that was the one. That was the one major reason. And the second reason was around customer simplicity. That we create this platform business where customers can come in and we can offer them a lot of services, and they get to benefit of that. So our key mantra around bundling is bundle and save, which then answers your third question, which is around our launch offer. On the fibre products, that's our launch offer. We want to get in the market, fully understand what we're doing, fully understand, and of course be disruptive. It has happened to us as well. When people have come into our space and be very disruptive. But yeah, that's the intent, Duncan. It's that offers a launch offer special that we've come in, just to disrupt and be in the market.
There's a little bit of confusion in my mind exactly how DStv Internet works. So if I sign up for DStv Fibre at home, are you working with another internet service provider to bring those solutions to market? Or have you partnered directly with the fibre network operators themselves like Vumatel and OpenServe, and then you're providing your own internet services as an ISP on top of those fibre networks? Which is it?
Yeah, that's correct. Your second option. That's correct. So if you look at our launch offer and the pricing and the speeds there, it's very clear that it's with OpenServe.
OpenServe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've done with OpenServe. We don't
so if
see
you want this now, you have to have OpenServe infrastructure in your neighborhood. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. For now. But we're definitely onboarding others as we move along. Okay. So the idea is that you go to our website, you say, I'm looking for fiber, and then we'll be able to, you're looking for internet, in fact. Yeah. And then we'll be able to tell you this is what's available from us. So as we onboard more and more FNOs onto the network, then it becomes a lot better. Yeah. So that's the intent.
Okay.
So we become we call it a VESP, virtual ISP.
Virtual ISP, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But you're not working with another ISP?
No, we're not working with another ISP,
Okay.
Yeah.
Nyiko, it's been a fascinating discussion. Before I let you go, I just want to throw a question out there because I'm actually really fascinated to know the answer to this.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a single competitor, we don't have to name a specific company, but in the free-to-air, you speak about OTTs, which is Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and Disney and all of those. Who would you say is MultiChoice's biggest competitor today? Is it the traditional free-to-air broadcaster like the SABC and other free-to-air broadcasters in the other markets in Africa you operate in, or is it these streaming services which are coming down the line?
No, undoubtedly the OTTs.
Okay.
And not only from a consumer side, but obviously, I mean, you might have heard this quite a number of times from us, right? Perhaps the biggest challenge we have is the fact that there is no regulatory parity. That hinders our ability to compete effectively. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff I have to do that they don't have to do, and for us, if we can have that regulatory parity, it then sets the ground the same. It's like going into a boxing ring with one eye patched, and you're fighting some big guys coming in into the country. That's what it feels like to us. That regulatory parity is quite important.
What advantages does a Netflix have over you in the regulatory space?
It's quite a lot. So there's no local content requirements around how much local content they have to do. That's one major one that I can that
is that an impediment though, because you want to do local content anyway?
Yeah, no. So, but I think we need to. I think when you have that kind of stuff, it changes what certain things you can do and how you do it.
Right.
There's a whole issue around your PE requirement, which doesn't always apply. There's issues around which fees are payable where, that we have to do. There's issues around, as an example, there's an issue around how you classify content and what you can broadcast, what you can. So there's quite a multitude, of stuff, that everybody has to do, or that at least that we have to do, that they don't have to do. Right. Yeah.
So would you like to see those same regulations that are applied to MultiChoice apply to Netflix and others? Should it not be a case of those regulations be removed from MultiChoice so that everyone can compete more easily?
I think some of them are quite important. If you think of we don't have to talk about the history of the country, but there's certain things that you would have to do to make sure that you grow the local economy. There's local employment. We think that so it's probably in between, where there's some stuff we could say, okay, we don't really need, but there's some stuff that we need. Yeah, but ultimately for us, the key thing is that there's regulatory parity.
Right.
Yeah. Either way.
Right.
Either way. Yeah. And it was it was a big submission point for us when there was the ICASA hearing into that pay television. That's the point we made, that firstly the market has completely changed, and secondly we need to make sure that there's a regulatory parity.
A question I'd be remiss not to ask before I let you go, because everyone always asks me this question, and I'm sure you've got a stock standard answer to it by now. Are you ever going to allow customers to pick their own channels instead of... and I know you ask this question all the time, and I'm sure you have a standard answer to it, but let's hear it anyway.
No, I said, somebody asked me the same question. I said, it's like going to the Vision Active, to the gym, and say, can I just pay for treadmill and swimming? I don't want to pay for all the other equipment you have. It's a very complex answer to it's also very complex to execute.
Yeah.
And if we really had to price channels in that way, it actually become more expensive for the customer. Right. If you think of the value of sport and the sport channels and how much we pay to acquire the sport, and we created an ability for the customer to cherry pick, it'll become prohibitively expensive, and it's also very difficult for us to execute on. Yeah, and that's really the reason behind it. Yeah, it'll become prohibitively expensive. I think in India they did something similar, if I'm not mistaken, where they could, but most customers ended up with going with the bouquet structure, because we do allow some, I'm trying to think of the right word, but essentially it just becomes way too expensive.
Yes.
Yeah. To the consumer, and much more complicated. Yeah.
Nyiko Shiburi is Chief Executive of MultiChoice South Africa. Always great to talk to you, Nyiko. Thanks for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.